Hey there friends, welcome to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow. Today I'm going to show you a new culprit that's out there it looks like they're rivaling the gun violence archive as far as disseminating lies about, quote, school shootings. But first we're going to talk about the Wisconsin shooting that happened at a school last week. Guys, go check out my friends, Attorneys on Retainer. These guys are way more than an insurance company. They are going to help you in the event that you have to draw your weapon and use it. Very, very good to have attorneys in your corner instead of a salesman or an insurance agent, right? That's the way I look at it. I want somebody who understands the law, supporting me, backing me, and more importantly, protecting me and my family. Check them out. Attorneys on Retainer. Again, Attorneys on Retainer. Use my discount code FTATF and receive half off your one-time sign-up fee. So for those of you that may not have seen or heard, there was a shooting at a Madison, Wisconsin school last week. And I kind of pumped the brakes on this one a little bit because there wasn't a lot that came out at first. We're starting to see more of the same old thing. Manifesto, of course, because 15-year-olds always write manifestos. But here's more on the story if you didn't hear it. This is one of the initial reports, so a lot more has come out since then. But I want you to see kind of what we're going to be talking about today.
The Madison Police Department responded to a mass shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School today. Officers were dispatched to the school, which is located on the city's east side at 10:57 a.m. They arrived to find multiple people suffering from gunshot wounds. 3 people, including the shooter, are dead. The shooter has now been identified as 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, who went by the name Samantha. She was a student at the school, and evidence suggests she died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A teacher and a teenage student were pronounced dead at the scene at that school. 6 other students and a teacher were injured and taken to area hospitals. 2 students remain in critical condition. We are still working to determine a motive. Detectives have talked to her family members this evening, as well as conduct a search of the shooter's home here in Madison.
So more details have begun to come out a little bit, and they are getting weirder. This is some of the information I took from a Bearing Arms story online. Great publication there. Check them out, bearingarms.com. But this happened again in Madison, Wisconsin. By now, most of you may have heard that there were 2 guns involved. Only 1 gun was actually used in the murder, but there were 2 on the scene. Again, the second gun does not appear to have been utilized at all. I do not have any further information on those guns yet. They have not released pictures to my knowledge, nor the make, manufacturer, all that good stuff that comes along with that. Now, you saw the bald-headed police chief, Sean Barnes, in that previous video. This guy's an idiot. He's very anti-gun. Of course, police chiefs typically are appointed positions, not elected, so usually they do dumb stuff that big city mayors ask them to do. In this case, more the same. This guy's very anti-gun, and he actually makes the comment, I do not know if she planned it that day or if she planned it a week prior. To me, bringing a gun to school to hurt people is planning. And so we don't know what the premeditation is. So bringing a gun to school is planning. Duh. I don't know any other way to respond to that. So you got a police chief who's supposed to be a professional in all this, and in his Sherlock Holmes-ish investigation, he's determined that this was not something that popped off. This was premeditated. This was planned. Good police work there, Barnes. Great police work, which, by the way, days after this shooting, apparently he'd already been interviewed for the job, I believe in Seattle, Washington, for the police chief up there. So he's already, he's done bailed since then. He was there for 3 or 4 days after the shooting and boom, was gone. But again, this guy, clearly an idiot. Sounds like this guy has probably been on his knees a lot to earn his way into that position. Clearly not a whole lot of street smarts, if you will. Now, interestingly, the FBI found a connection online between this shooter and another person, Paffendorf, out in California. They sought a red flag order. I don't know, I know this is California, but I don't even understand how you seek out a red flag order. From what I understand, the partnership between the killer and this Pfaffendorf guy was that they had communications online where they both discussed being involved in a similar shooting. So it sounds like these two interacted online, and probably the Pfaffendorf guy wanted to impress the girl because maybe he's having a little bit of trouble pulling his own, and she likely said something about what she intended to do, which she actually did. He probably said, oh yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I think that other than him running his mouth, there's nothing here. I don't think that there was ever any threat of this guy following through. In fact, he's probably shocked as hell right now that this girl he was talking to online actually carried this out. This sounds like just some kind of teenage bloviating to try to impress somebody that, oh yeah, that's what you're going to do? Well, I'm going to do it even better. But nevertheless, they have taken this guy's guns and ammunition from him. Not sure of his age right now. I know they've listed it, but I don't recall what it was. But again, this guy more than likely was simply trying to impress somebody. I don't think you're going to find anything that comes out of that whatsoever, because it really just looks like a case of nothing there. Now, there's a lot of discussion about how this person came from a troubled home, and I think I saw one news agency said that a troublesome or tumultuous life, because the parents had been divorced and remarried, or maybe I lose track of the numbers, but they were married twice, and I think they were getting divorced twice, 2 different times. I want to be real clear when I say something about this. You guys know that I wrote a book on this, right? I wrote a book on what's causing exactly what you saw here. This 15-year-old to do what she did, which, by the way, very rare. 96 to 98% of these types of rampage killings are committed by boys or men. Very rare to have a female involved. Extremely rare. So this is definitely a different one altogether. But everything else as far as the causation certainly applies as to what I wrote in my book. This person likely came from a broken home. There are signs of that, not necessarily the divorce. I'm going to get into that in a second. But likely came from a broken home, likely medicated, because the broken home typically encourages that or makes that happen. And the bullying aspect of it, yet to come, that's just something that's included. I don't think the bullying sends them over. But also, when these people go back to their own schools and they shoot specific people, that's usually a sign of a form of bullying. Again, I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm not saying that's okay. What I'm saying is usually these cowards go back to these schools, and people that they perceive to have bullied them in the past are typically their targets in most cases. That's just not even a statistical fact. That is an absolute fact. In most cases, you've seen that. They go there to get to people, and they'll take people out on the way to their heinous crime. But I will say this. I want to go to the divorce thing. The fact that these parents of this 15-year-old killer divorced, then got back together, and then divorced again, you can look at it a multitude of ways. You can look at it as not being able to make their mind up, not being able to get along, but kind of liking each other. Or you can look at it as somebody, and I'm certainly not implying this, you could even look at that as a super positive, as two parents trying to make things work for their child. That's possible. It's very possible. Now, personally, by what I'm seeing here, I don't think that's the case. But it could be. And I will tell you this also. In many cases, when you have divorce involved, whether these parents, their intentions are good, whether they conduct themselves good. In fact, it sounds like they did a decent job, I guess, of a joint custody type thing, where at first, I think during the first divorce, the mom kept the 15-year-old, which obviously she wasn't 15 at the time, but kept the child more, although they had equal custody. And then the second time around, I believe they had equal custody again, and they shared custody pretty much 50-50. So it sounds like both parents were in the killer's life. But again, what usually happens is you have a child who is confused. No child wants to see their parents busted up. And I'm not here to say divorce makes rampage killers. I know lots of people who came from divorced families themselves, and I've seen their children when they in fact divorced, and their families are great. Good kids, successful kids. That's certainly not, if you're involved either in a divorce, and you're thinking, if the marriage isn't right for you, get out of it, right? Don't be thinking that, oh, this is going to make my son a rampage killer. It absolutely is not going to. You stay involved in that child's life, and you help manage that child as they grow older and look for signs where they may have a problem. Now, back to a child having an issue with that. You can understand the confusion that a child is used to seeing mom and dad all the time. Then all of a sudden, one of them is not going to be around anymore. You may start to see a decline in grades and even behavior at school, right? Well, that's where the teachers get involved. Unfortunately, teachers think they are psychologists, and they think they're psychiatrists, and they think they are medical doctors who, because they're teachers, I've seen it all, that they have the right to recommend things. And they likely are recommending these parents, we see a decline in maybe even attendance, but a decline in your schoolwork, your behavior. I think you need to medicate your child. So at a very young age, we're talking about a 15-year-old here that's no longer with us. So that means this person was likely medicated before that. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't know she was medicated. I don't have proof that she was medicated, but I know she was medicated. When it comes out, I want those of you who are saying, oh, you don't have proof, to come back, apologize in the comment section down below. Because again, I want to repeat this. I do not have proof, but I know without a doubt this person was medicated. Somebody made a suggestion. Oh, she's anxious. Oh, she's depressed. Let's give her some SSRIs. Let's do all these things and give to her that we've done to millions of other children for the same things. And now we are, what? Creating a monster. Now, that doesn't mean that every single person who is on SSRIs in a broken home and all that, I say this all the time, and I've got 50,000 disclaimers in my book, doesn't mean they're the next rampage killer. What it does mean is every single rampage killer, those things have happened to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every single person that has those same qualities does not become a rampage killer, but coincidentally, every single rampage killer does in fact have those qualities. So let's be real about this and realize that there are some strong correlations and definite causations involved with this. And believe me, as long as we continue to ignore them, they ain't going away. And this problem that we keep ignoring, it ain't going away either. Because as long as we continue to say, hey, we got to do something about guns, and ignore the fact that we need to keep these people out of these schools. Quick side note. The school said, we have school security. Now, we don't have radar detectors, or metal detectors, but we do visually inspect every student that comes into school. So you look at every kid that comes into school. You see them. Nice work, school security. Nice work. Oh, and you have cameras. So you video the kids too. That's awesome. So when they sneak guns in there, you can say, I didn't see anything. So you're cool, right? That's not hardening of schools. That's never, ever going to keep a school shooter out of your school. We have to be honest about this. As long as you keep pumping all these things into these children and you keep messing up their brains and you keep doing crazy stuff to them and we leave the front door wide open, we can never fix this problem. Why do we protect Congress more than we do our own children? There's 535 members of Congress with $1 billion budget to protect them in the offices where they are. Why can't we do that to the schools? Hell, I'd be willing to take the money from Congress, let them defend themselves, and send that money to these schools and let them protect themselves. Now, it sounds like the parents were not only involved in the killer's life, but actually introduced her to firearms at a younger age. You can see she's shooting some clay pigeons right here at a local gun range, and I do believe the statement I read was that this is from a parent. So it sounds like they were involved and did some things with this child. And by the way, they did not use a shotgun, so they weren't training them to shoot a school up. This was just a way that they interacted and probably killed some time. Now, as more information comes out about this, I will definitely share it. There was the early accusation, again, why I kind of pumped the brakes early on, because something just didn't seem right with this story, that this was a gender pretender, that this person was pretending to be a trans person, if you want to call it that. They were pretending to be a boy whenever, in fact, they were born a girl. That does not seem to be the case. again, I think there are enough mental issues here with the likely SSRIs that the person was taking and who knows what else. Again, we don't know what other potential abuse there may have been in the family. You know, there could have been a multitude of other things that cause this type of trauma to get this kind of a reaction out of this person. But what I wanted to point out is, I don't know if you guys remember earlier this year, I called out the Gun Violence Archive for lying on their website. They had hundreds of what they called school shootings listed down and potentially shining a light on what was really not a problem. Now, do I think guns should be at school? Be snuck in the school by students? No, absolutely not. But don't lie to me and tell me that's a school shooting. The Gun Violence Archive was doing that. I called them out. Mark Bryant, the owner and the founder of Gun Violence Archive, reached out to me, acted like he didn't realize it said school shootings when it clearly said school shootings on a title at the top. And then it listed all these. You know what they were? I went through the list for the first 3 months of the year. There was one school shooting out of 300, I believe, 200 or 300 that they named. You know what all those other things were? Kids who snuck guns in their backpacks, or somebody who shot at a school in downtown Detroit at 3 a.m. That's what they were calling school shootings. You could probably think about a gun driving by a school, and Gun Violence Archive would have called it a school shooting at that time. Well, guess what? Lo and behold, after he and I had a conversation, Gun Violence Archive decided to change that to school incidents. Again, implying that there's something there more than what there was, but at least leaning towards more of a level of honesty since he was called out on it. It was no mistake, by the way. I know better than that. But at least they fixed it. Sounds like Gun Violence Archive has a rival. Apparently, lying about gun crime is really big business. There's a new one out there that CBS News actually cited in a story on this particular shooting. How many school shootings have happened in 2024 so far? According to Education Week, which I'll get more into the link here in a second, there have been 38 school shootings this year that resulted in injuries or deaths. Wait, 38 that resulted in injury or death, but you listed 323 school shootings on here. If you go to the K through 12 school shooting database, you will see that they are listing, quote, school shootings from 1966 to 2024. Look at the spike in the last 7 years. Wow, that looks pretty wild. In fact, they're saying that 327 so far in the United States this year for 2024. Again, looking at CBS News, citing this same database, in each of the last 3 academic years, remember academic years obviously is going to straddle 2 particular years because the school year will usually start in September of one year and lead into May of the following year. In each of the last 3 academic years, according to the analysis, there have been at least triple the number of school shootings compared to any single previous school year dating back to 1996. Look at the, quote, fine print at the very bottom. Note, this data includes any instance of a gun fired or brandished or hitting school property, including gang violence, domestic incidents, and accidents. So we're right back to where we started from with the Gun Violence Archive. So now I guess I got to reach out to these people and tell them the same thing. This is a lie. Look at the big, giant, glossy black headline, shootings at U.S. schools by school year. And then it says at the bottom, it could be brandished or hitting school property, including gang violence, domestic incidents, or accidents. So you have the bar graph over here to spike everybody's awareness, attention, and fear, of course, at 343 so far this school year, which still has a good 3 or 4 months, 5 months left to go, right? Yet, we've really only had, I think, 3. We had Perry, Iowa. We had one, I believe, in August, and I forget which one that was. I'm sorry that I don't have that information. And then we have this one. So to my knowledge, we've had 3. If we've had more than 3, then it might be 4. It ain't 323. I know this without a doubt. I download these reports and I look at this data every single month. I look at every single incident. There's not one that slips by me. So if we've had 3 or 4 shootings this year, that's it. These people are lying to you. They're getting clicks, they're getting people to cite them in national publications, and they're doing this based on an outright lie. They know putting a title, shootings at U.S. schools by school year, is a freaking lie. And they get away with it because, just like the video I said yesterday, when you want to believe something, you run with it. You're already emotionally invested in that topic and you want it to lean a certain way. So when it barely leans that way, you're all in. You're all in. Just so you guys know, the publication that I'm talking about that is lying, just like the Gun Violence Archive was doing, is the website is k12ssdb.org. See it at the very top there. They're calling it the K through 12 school shooting database. And even on this front page, they even are honest about what they're doing. They literally debunked their own lie in their description, where they say, how many school shootings? All incidents from 1966 to present. All shootings at schools includes when a gun is brandished, is fired, or a bullet hits school property for any reason, regardless of the number of victims, time, or day of the week. How many school shootings this year? Unlike other data sources, this information includes gang shootings, domestic violence, shootings at sports games. Again, that's basketball games that are at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And after hour school events, suicides, fights that escalate into shootings, and accidents. This information is recorded to document the number of school shootings and full scope of gun violence on school campuses. This is a lie. Oh, look at the last line down there. Use of this data must be cited with whatever they say. I don't have to cite it because I'm not using their data. I'm actually shining a light on their data that it's a lie and that it's wrong. I will reach out to them. They're likely not going to correct this because they saw how much money the Gun Violence Archive was making by lying to the American people. And by God, they've got CBS News already citing them. So good for them. Great business model right there, correct? I just think it's a shame because this is the kind of stuff that we see the charts. And when these people on legacy media, the state-run media, get up there and we're standing around, let's just say Christmas dinner with friends and all that, and something like this comes up, friends and family, I should say, something like that comes up, you don't have a voice in that. You can tell everybody in the room that's a lie. I know that's a lie. That's not true. But the people in the room are thinking, well, that's just Paul over here at my house. He's just bitter because he's a gun guy. He's a gun nut. And he's just saying that because he doesn't want people to think this kind of stuff. But that guy's the expert. He's on TV. So what he's saying must be right, right? That's exactly the case. This is a perfect example why I tell you guys, and I'm finally seeing the shift. I saw the shift during the election cycle. People are abandoning these legacy state-run media outlets, whether it be on television, even their online presences. They're running away from them like their hair is on fire because they've been outed. People have been lied to, and they probably take that information and run with it and enter into these conversations and arguments about these things, and they quickly get debunked because everybody's got one of these. And people are saying, that's a lie. And they show it to them. And they show them that's a lie. So I wanted you to have this website, this database, so that when anybody around your Christmas dinner table starts talking about 323 school shootings in the past academic year, you tell them they are a damn liar. And you tell them that I'm going to show you the truth. If you still run with the lie, that makes you a liar. Because I'm going to show you facts. And when you are proven that your lie is a lie and you continue to repeat it, that makes you an outright liar, and that makes you as complicit as the person who made up the lie in the first place.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.